The cold is not your enemy. The cold is a physical law. It has no malice, no strategy, and no patience. It is simply the relentless pursuit of equilibrium. Your body is a biological furnace maintaining a core temperature of roughly 37 degrees Celsius, and the universe around you is a vacuum trying to pull that number down to match the ambient zero. Survival is not about comfort. It is a brutal mathematical calculation. If your caloric output plus your insulation cannot exceed the rate of thermal loss, you die. It is an equation that resolves to zero, and the cold always balances the books. Most civilians approach this equation with a fatal error. They rely on active fire. You have been conditioned by cinema and folklore to believe that a roaring campfire is the solution to hypothermia. This is a tactical failure. An active fire is a feast or famine system. It requires constant maintenance, forcing you to leave your shelter to gather fuel, burning precious calories in the process. It creates a thermal gradient where your front is roasted while your back freezes, stressing your autonomic nervous system. Worst of all, it demands vigilance. You cannot sleep deeply when your life support system requires feeding every hour. If the fire dies while you sleep, your core temperature plummets and you may never wake up to rekindle it. Relying on active combustion is not a strategy, it is a gamble. To survive the night without exhaustion, you must shift your operational principle from heat generation to heat storage. You must stop thinking like a furnace and start thinking like a capacitor. This brings us to the doctrine of the heat battery. In tactical thermodynamics, a battery is any mass capable of absorbing high-intensity thermal energy rapidly and releasing it as low-intensity, sustained radiation over a prolonged period. We are exploiting the physics of specific heat capacity, the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of a material. By selecting materials with high density and high specific heat, we can capture the energy of a fire before we sleep, imprison that energy within a portable mass, and bring it inside our insulation layers. This creates a closed-loop system. Instead of heating the infinite air of the forest, you're heating a finite mass that radiates directly into your microclimate. You disconnect the heat source from the oxygen supply. The fire stays outside. The heat comes inside with you. This allows you to achieve the gold standard of survival: continuous, unconscious thermoregulation. You sleep. The battery works. You wake up alive. In the following sections, we will dismantle the romantic notion of the campfire and replace it with 5 specific protocols for constructing these batteries using water, stone, earth, metal, and physics. We will turn the environment from a liability into a resource. Prepare to execute. Water is not merely a hydration resource. It is the supreme thermal storage medium available in the field. In terms of specific heat capacity, the metric that governs how much energy a substance can hold, water is the operational king. It requires 4.18 joules of energy to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Compare this to steel, which requires only 0.45 joules, or granite at roughly 0.79 joules. This means that pound for pound, water holds approximately 4 to 10 times more heat energy than rock or metal. If you ignore this physics, you are leaving your most potent weapon on the table. To execute the hydrothermal battery protocol, you must repurpose your hydration vessels. The standard issue single-wall stainless steel canteen or a high-density polyethylene bottle, such as a Nalgene, are your primary chassis. You will bring water to a rolling boil at your active fire. This is the charging phase. Once the water hits 100 degrees Celsius, you transfer it immediately into your vessel and seal it tight. At this moment, you are holding a thermal grenade. It is dangerous. A bare metal canteen at this temperature will cause third-degree contact burns instantly, and it will dump its energy into the air in minutes, a tactical waste. You must regulate the output. Just as a reactor needs shielding, your hydro battery requires a throttle. Encase the bottle immediately in a thick wool sock, a beanie, or a chemise. This layer of insulation serves two critical functions. It prevents the 100-degree surface from cooking your skin, and it slows the rate of thermal release. You are converting a high-intensity flash of heat into a slow, steady radiance that will last for 6 to 8 hours. Strategic placement is the final variable. Amateurs shove a hot water bottle down to their feet. This is inefficient. Your feet are distal extremities with poor circulation. Heating them does little for your overall survival. You must place the battery at the core or along major vascular highways. Position the insulated vessel between your thighs, directly against the femoral arteries, or hug it against your chest near the solar plexus. By heating the blood volume circulating through these massive arteries, you are effectively warming the hydraulic fluid of your entire machine. The warm blood travels to the extremities from the inside out. Do not risk leaks. A leak in a sleeping bag at sub-zero temperatures is a death sentence, as wet insulation loses all R value. Check your seals. Crank them down. If you execute this correctly, you carry the ghost of the fire into your sleep system, maintaining a survivable microclimate long after the flames outside have turned to ash. If water is the high-performance battery, stone is the heavy industrial capacitor. The Earth provides you with limitless energy storage units if you know how to identify them. The operational principle here is density. You are looking for high-density, non-porous rock, granite, basalt, or soapstone. These materials possess the thermal mass required to absorb intense heat and release it over a timeline that outlasts a standard sleep cycle. However, this protocol carries a lethal risk that amateurs ignore at their peril. You must never, under any circumstances, select stones from a riverbed or a damp depression. Porous rocks or stones that have been submerged contain trapped moisture within their microscopic fissures. When you introduce these to the rapid heating of a fire, that internal moisture turns to steam, expands, and since it cannot escape, it detonates. A river rock in a campfire is not a tool. It is a fragmentation grenade. It will send superheated shrapnel into your eyes and face. Select dry upland stones that ring solid when struck together. The heating cycle requires patience. Do not throw your chosen stones directly into the heart of a roaring flame. Thermal shock can crack even dry stones. Instead, arrange them in a perimeter around the coals, the annulus of the fire, where they can soak up heat gradually. Rotate them every 15 minutes. You are charging the capacitor. After an hour, these stones will be hot enough to sear flesh instantly and melt synthetic fabrics on contact. You must respect this energy. Transportation and insulation are the critical phases. You cannot touch these stones. Use 2 green sticks as tongs or roll them out of the fire pit. You must wrap them immediately. A single layer of cloth is insufficient. You need a multi-stage insulation barrier, a wool blanket, a spare jacket, or a dedicated canvas sack. The goal is to trap a layer of dead air around the stone. This air gap acts as a buffer, smoothing out the thermal spike so the heat radiates gently rather than burning through your sleeping bag. Once wrapped, this lithic capacitor goes inside your sleep system. Unlike the water battery, which is ideal for the core, the stone battery is heavy and best positioned at the foot of the bag. It turns the bottom of your sleeping bag into a radiant oven, combating the conductive heat loss that occurs where your feet compress the insulation against the ground. A properly selected stone, heated to the limit of stability and insulated correctly, will still be warm to the touch when the sun rises. It is a piece of the fire that does not burn out. The ground is a vampire. In a survival scenario, conductive heat loss to the cold earth is the silent killer that accounts for more hypothermia cases than the ambient air temperature. When you lie on the ground, the earth acts as an infinite heat sink, sucking the thermal energy out of your body faster than you can generate it. No amount of clothing can fully negate this if you are compressing the insulation layers against the frozen soil. To survive, you must inverse this relationship. You must turn the ground into a radiator. This executes through the trench battery protocol. It requires significant caloric investment during the day to pay dividends at night, so assess your energy levels before committing. First, excavate a trench slightly larger than your torso. You do not need to heat the space for your legs. Your core organs are the priority. Dig down 6 to 8 inches. Save the excavated soil. You will need it. Inside this trench, build a substantial fire. This is not a cooking fire. It is an industrial heating operation. You need to burn hardwood down to a thick bed of coals, allowing the thermal energy to penetrate deep into the substrate of the trench walls and floor. You are structurally changing the temperature of the geology beneath you. Once the fire is burned down to a solid bed of embers, you must bury the evidence. Spread the coals evenly. Then, fill the trench back in with the excavated soil. Do not use wet mud or snow. You need about 4 to 6 inches of dirt on top of the coals. This dirt layer is the regulator. If it is too thin, you will roast. Your sleeping gear will melt, and you will wake up with burns. If it is too thick, the heat will not reach you until morning. Pack the dirt down firm. Wait 30 minutes. Test the surface with your bare hand. It should feel warm, not hot. If it burns your palm, add more dirt. Now, set up your sleep system directly on top of this disturbed earth. You have created a heated floor. Instead of the ground stealing your heat, it is now pushing thermal radiation upwards, fighting gravity to enter your sleep system. This method is effective because it targets the entire dorsal side of your body, keeping your spine and kidneys warm. In sub-freezing conditions, a properly executed trench battery allows a survivor to sleep comfortably with minimal overhead cover. You are sleeping on a volcano of your own making. We have discussed conductive heat, heating the body directly through contact. Now, we must address the tactical environment itself. In a small enclosed shelter, your goal is to raise the ambient air temperature to create a shirt sleeve environment where your body stops fighting to maintain equilibrium. You need a space heater, but bringing an open flame inside a small shelter is suicide. It consumes the limited oxygen you need to breathe and produces carbon monoxide. The solution is the Ferris radiator. This protocol utilizes a steel container filled with high-density aggregate. The ideal chassis for this is a standard-issue 50 caliber steel ammunition can, though a cast-iron Dutch oven or even a heavy steel pot with a lid will suffice. You are building a thermal capacitor that is robust enough to survive the heart of a fire and stable enough to be brought indoors. The mechanism relies on filling the steel vessel with dry sand or gravel. Do not use soil. Organic matter in soil will smoke or combust when heated. Sand is mineral. It is inert. Fill the ammo can to the brim with sand, seal the lid, and place it directly into your fire. The steel skin conducts heat rapidly, transferring it into the dense core of sand. The sand absorbs this energy, banking it deep within the container. This process separates the combustion from the radiation. Outside, the fire burns, consuming wood and oxygen. Inside the metal box, the sand captures pure thermal energy. After an hour of charging, you use a hook or heavy leather gloves to extract the can. Dust off the ash. Verify the seal. Then, transport this unit into your shelter. Place it on a non-combustible base, a flat rock or a green log, in the center of your space. Do not touch it. It is radiating intense infrared heat. Because the sand is dense, it releases this heat slowly over 4 to 6 hours. It acts exactly like an old-fashioned steam radiator. It warms the air volume of your shelter without emitting smoke, light, or toxic fumes. It demands no oxygen. It allows you to operate or rest in a heated environment without the constant chore of tending a stove. If you lack a steel container, a terracotta pot filled with sand can serve as a fragile substitute, but in a survival scenario, steel is the only material that tolerates the abuse of the field. This is the most misunderstood and misused piece of kit in the modern survival inventory. The aluminized Mylar space blanket. Civilians treat it like a magic cape. They wrap themselves tight in it, like a baked potato. This is a tactical error that leads to the sweat freeze cycle. Mylar has zero insulation value. It prevents convection, yes, but because it is non-breathable, it traps your insensible perspiration. You get wet, then you get cold, and then you die. To use this tool correctly, you must stop treating it as clothing and start treating it as a structural component of your shelter. In our thermal equation, Mylar is not a battery, it is a force multiplier. Its function is to manage the third method of heat transfer, radiation. Your body and the heat batteries we have discussed, waterstone metal, emit long-wave infrared radiation. In an open shelter, this energy escapes into the void of the night sky. To stop this hemorrhage, you must construct a super shelter using specific geometry. Do not wrap the Mylar around your body. Instead, suspend it behind and above your sleeping area. You are building a parabolic reflector. The geometry matters. If you hang it flat on the wall behind you, it is inefficient. You must angle the Mylar sheet at approximately 45 degrees relative to your sleep system and the heat source. Here is the physics of the loop. Your body and your Ferris radiator or lithic capacitor emit heat. This heat travels up and out. It strikes the aluminized surface of the Mylar. Instead of passing through, 90% of that radiant energy is bounced back down directly onto you. You are creating a positive feedback loop. The heat leaves you, hits the ceiling, and returns to you. When executed correctly, this reflective containment field creates a microclimate where the ambient temperature inside the target zone can be 10 to 15 degrees higher than the air just 3 feet away. You are trapping the energy that you have worked so hard to store. Without this containment, your batteries are trying to heat the entire forest. With it, they only have to heat you. The final battery is you. All the external systems we have discussed, water, stone, earth, metal, and reflection, are designed to support one central objective: preserving the core temperature of the operator. However, preservation is useless if the internal generator shuts down. You are a biological furnace. Like any furnace, if you stop feeding it fuel, the fire goes out. In a survival scenario, going to sleep on an empty stomach is a tactical error. It allows your metabolism to downshift, dropping your body temperature and making you vulnerable to the creeping cold. You must execute a strategic caloric load before entering your sleep system. But not all calories are equal. You must understand the burn rate of your fuel. Sugars and simple carbohydrates are kindling. They ignite fast, provide a quick spike of energy, and burn out in minutes. They are useless for the 8-hour mission of sleep. You need hardwood. You need lipids, fats contain 9 calories per gram, more than double the energy density of protein or carbohydrates. More importantly, they digest slowly. Consuming a high-fat ration, pemmican, nuts, cheese, or even a spoonful of oil, right before zipping up your bag forces your digestive system to work through the night. This process, known as diet-induced thermogenesis, generates internal heat as a byproduct of digestion. You are literally stoking the boiler. While you sleep, your body is slowly burning that dense fuel, radiating heat from the inside out to meet the heat coming from your external batteries. Operational summary. We have dismantled the myth of the campfire. We have replaced the feast or famine reliance on open flame with a grid of 6 redundant thermal safety systems. The hydrothermal battery, safely superheated water protecting your femoral arteries. The lithic capacitor, dense stone banking heat for the foot box. The subterranean heat, sink, a heated floor that stops the earth from draining you. The Ferris radiator, a sand-filled steel unit warming the air without smoke. The reflective containment field, a geometry that traps and recycles your radiation. The biological reserve, high-fat fuel keeping the internal engine running. You do not need to deploy all 6 simultaneously in every scenario, but you must master them all. The cold does not bargain. It does not care if you are tired or unprepared. It only respects physics. You now possess the physics to defeat it.